Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Washington Gun Rights. If you're receiving direct mail or email updates from us, you're well aware of the threat posed by mental health gun control legislation here in Olympia. But if you're not, or if you have more questions, this video is for you. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this video is going to take some time to explain, some time to unpack. So if you're pressed for time right now, whatever else you do, hit the link below or above this broadcast and sign your petition against any form of mental health gun control here in Washington state. If you've got more time, I'm going to break this bill down for you. Before I do that, I think for a lot of gun owners, there was a hope, this much, right? After last year's attack on our gun rights, the AR-15 ban, and after we went through that huge battle, maybe some of us thought for a moment that Jay Inslee, Bob Ferguson, these guys would just leave us the hell alone in 2024. But guys, that's just not how this works. These leftists, today's radical left, they are absolute ideologues who hate gun owners. They hate the Second Amendment, and they will not rest until every one of us are completely disarmed. So there will never be an end to their attack on our gun rights. So even while we fight last year's gun control law in federal court, we must keep a sharp eye on all the gun control bills moving right now this year here in Olympia. We've broken down multiple of the previous bills. We have emails on that, action alerts, social media posts. You can check those for more details on the bills that are happening right now this session. This video is going to break down the threat and the way that the threat of mental health gun control actually would work in real life for gun owners here in Washington state. Again, if you're pressed for time, hit that link and sign your petition against this concept right away. So here's what's going on. Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson know that banning AR-15s, that's part of their agenda. That banned a gun and approximately 64, 65 similar firearms. They're happy with that. They're pleased. But more important to them is not banning individual guns or accessories, but using the system, using the bureaucratic process to take away all the guns from certain classifications of people. And one of those, they believe, would be anybody who has been deemed mentally defective. And so what they're talking about and what we're hearing from our sources is they're talking about legislation that would require Washingtonians to sit with a state sanctioned mental health professional, whatever the hell that means these days, probably a purple-haired psycho who is gender confused, who was paid by Jay Inslee to sit with you and me and ask us a series of questions. This person then, and I can't even say he or she because God knows they probably don't even know what their preferred pronoun of the day is, would largely have the final say on whether or not we would be qualified to buy a firearm. So what kind of questions can get you on the banned list? We have no idea. That's the whole point. But it's pretty safe to say, if you say, you know what, I love God, I love this country, I love my flag, I love our forefathers, I love the Second Amendment, I hate tyranny, I hate thugs. If you say things like this, you're probably going to fail. And if you're asking, where is this coming from? I'll tell you where it's coming from. New York State has always led the gun control movement on the East Coast. California obviously has led the gun control movement here on the West Coast. And right now it is New York who is the ones leading this very idea. They have versions of this bill in both their assembly and their state senate. And the way it looks to us here in Washington state, they are literally, they want to copy and paste, rip that language from New York State and roll that out here in our state. What does the appeal process look like? We have no idea. There is no appellate process in the New York drafts that we have reviewed. How many times must you go through this process? We don't know. Again, there's no clarity in other bill drafts. The point here is very simple. They want to take away guns from everyone they can, having no conviction in a court of law. This is like our red flag law on steroids. And if you're hearing all this and you're like, dude, this sounds like something out of a history book from last century, you're exactly right. And props to you for knowing your history. Last century, almost every dictator around the globe, almost every single one of the tools that they used to go after their political opponents was to have them deemed mentally defective. And if you were deemed defective in many countries, you were shipped off to a prison farm or flat out murdered. Read a history book. Read a history book. This idea of powerful, tyrannical politicians declaring their political opponents as mentally defective is not new. It's just new here. I don't know about you guys, but Jay Inslee and more importantly, Bob Ferguson seem every bit as tyrannical as the dictators of last century. The difference is just that we're armed in this country, and the citizenry in most of those nations last century were not. And that is the reason why today's tyrants, whether it's Kathy Hochul in New York or Jay Inslee in Washington, are hell-bent on taking away our firearms. And so, guys, it is urgent that you hit that link and make your voice heard. Now, if there's any good news at all, and there's not a lot of good news these days when it comes to gun rights in Washington State, if there's any good news at all, it's that this issue is so shocking. This issue is so beyond the pale that we are told that even the Democrats, especially in the Senate right now, might not want to take this up because they don't have that big of a majority. They don't have that big of a majority, and it's an election year. And so if we can pour pressure on the right members of the Senate Democratic caucus, that will be our best shot at defeating this idea. So, guys, hit the link below. Again, I said it 4 or 5 times, but it is urgent you take action to make your voice heard against this bill before it even gets off the ground. So hit the link and make sure you do that. Guys, if you want to get more involved, go to joinwgr.com and get involved as a member today. And whatever else you do, share these broadcasts. We give you guys information, cutting edge stuff right from the state capitol. Make sure your friends, your family, your coworkers, your shooting buddies, your hunting buddies, make sure they all know what's going on here, because if they don't know what's going on, they can't be involved in this fight to stop gun control and defend our freedom. You guys take care. Thanks for your time and stay free.